2 weeks ago, our Jewish neighbors and many of us marked the days of awe, that sacred time between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, between the world's birthday and the day of return. As I reflected on those holy days, I found myself thinking about two kinds of rising. The seas are rising, literally, measurably, undeniably. This week, the UN marked last year, 2024, as the highest and fastest rising rates of recorded CO2 levels in history. Highest and fastest rate ever. So the seas will continue to rise even faster. This is the truth our fourth source, reason and science, requires us to face. And something else is rising too. A consciousness, an awareness emerging from what our first source calls direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder. A question that won't let us go. What if these aren't separate events? We need not think alike to love alike, says Francis David. But what if thinking and loving are both rising like the tide, asking us to expand our understanding of who we includes? Let me share something with you that might change how you see everything. Your mind is a myth-making machine. Every day, you're not just experiencing reality, you're storying it into being. I call this the mythopoeic journey, from the Greek words mythos and poia, to make. Our non-creedal tradition means we don't all have to, and technically can't, see the world the same way. In fact, our diversity of theological responses is our strength, and we need perspectives across the spectrum. Let me map the different ways that you might engage with rising seas using what I named the mythopoeic scale. Some of us are what I call unstoried, grounded in our humanist heritage, seeing rising seas as physics requiring practical response. This is sacred too. Our faith honors those who say, first, let's understand the science. Build the seawall, move inland, problem solve. Others are awakening, witnessing climate change, feeling strange stirrings when they see flooded streets, wondering why we take it personally, sensing there's meaning we can't quite name, beginning what our first principle might call recognition of the inherent worth and dignity of the ocean itself. Some have become symbolists, drawing from our mystical traditions, seeing water everywhere as spiritual teacher, as symbol. Boundaries dissolving, the unconscious rising, the return of the repressed. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus and his river we can never step in twice. Still others are inner caste keepers, using our commitment, drawing from our commitment to psychological wisdom to recognize multiple inner voices, the denier, the griever, the activist, the child. Who just wants the world to stop changing. And some are becoming myth crafters, myth weavers, and myth architects, embodying our prophetic tradition by creating new rituals, theologies, and ways of being with rising waters, actively creating new stories, rituals, and realities for living with rising waters, both literal and metaphorical. More about that later. But it's important to note that the same person can be at different points on the scale for different aspects of climate response. Where are you on this scale? More importantly, where is the rising water inviting you to go next? During the recent days of awe, Jews around the world read, "Today the world is born." Not was born, is born. Present tense. This teaching from our faith source, our fourth source, Jewish wisdom, that calls us to respond to love by loving our neighbors, offers profound insight. Jewish mysticism teaches that creation isn't a one-time event. It's happening right now through our participation with we are shutafim, as they call it, partners with the divine in ongoing creation. This resonates deeply with process theology, influential in UU thought, which sees the universe as constantly becoming, with us as co-creators in each moment. As Reverend Rebecca Parker writes, we are partners in the work of creation. But partnership comes with responsibility. Tikkun olam, repairing the world. A central concept in Judaism is that calls for individuals to improve the world and bring it closer to a state of justice, harmony, and divine fulfillment. It isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about recognizing what our seventh principle and Article 2 values name. We are part of the interdependent web, always co-creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. This from Article 2. We honor the interdependent web of all existence, with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. The rising seas aren't punishment. Our universalist heritage rejected that theology long ago. They're consequence. They're communication. They're what Forrest Church might call the dual reality of being alive and having to die, made planetary. Creation itself asking us, what are we creating together? Might it be asking you to consider not how humans have destroyed Earth, but what we are co-creating? Less doom and gloom, more, where do we go from here? I want to share a synchronicity that emerged the day I prepared this sermon. Saturday, September 29th was the 40th annual International Coastal Cleanup. And right now, led by Eric Landstrom in our congregation, there is a coalition of environmental care groups that have gathered to clean up University Woodlands Park and playground. 40 years. 40. The number of transformation in Jewish and Christian mysticism. The years wandering in the desert. The days of rain that raised the waters for Noah. the days Moses spent on the mountain, the days Jesus spent in the desert before beginning his ministry. Is it coincidence that on the day we explore rising waters and rising consciousness, we're invited to literally put our hands in service of water? Or is this what synchronicity looks like? The universe saying, don't just think about it, touch it, serve it, be in relationship with it. Reverend Rebecca Parker reminds us, we are living in a time of great turning. The question is not whether we will change, but how consciously we will participate in that transformation. This is the heart of Unitarian Universalist theology. Not that we must believe specific things about the change, but that we must engage with it consciously, bringing our whole selves to the transformation. Our seventh principle declares respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. But for decades, we've treated that as poetry. The rising seas reveal it as prophecy. The earth itself asks, do you see it now? We are the web. We are the water. The carbon we released doesn't disappear. It acidifies our oceanic body. The ice we melt doesn't vanish. It redistributes itself, finding new homes in Miami streets, in Bangladesh fields, and in Lake Okeechobee, now designated the dirtiest lake in the country due to phosphorus and lead levels. James Luther Adams taught that revelation is continuous. Today's revelation comes not through scripture, but through sea level measurements. The holy is speaking to us in parts per million. Here's what's beautiful about our UU approach. We don't need to agree on what the rising seas mean. Our Christian UUs might see this as creation groaning in labor pains. Our Buddhist UUs might recognize impermanence made visible. Our pagan UUs might hear the ocean mother calling her children home. Our humanist UUs might see only chemistry and physics and find that enough to inspire awe and action. Our Jewish UUs might recognize tikkun olam, the call to repair in the breaking. All of these are true. As Forest Church taught, religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. Climate change simply makes that duality a collective reality. Even as I speak of rising seas, I know many of us are drowning in different waters. The images from Gaza, from Israel, the rising tide of hatred and grief that threatens to swallow whole peoples now has a fragile peace in the form of a ceasefire, a peace plan, and a 10-year reconstruction roadmap, if it holds. But the floodwaters of fear and violence are not confined to distant shores. Here at home, another tide rises, the tide of enforcement, of raids, of families torn apart by ICE operations and National Guard deployments. Our immigrant neighbors, many who fled rising seas and failing crops in their homelands, now face a different kind of drowning. They are climate refugees twice over. First, from the physical waters that claimed their livelihoods, Now, from the rising waters of nationalism and fear that would claim their humanity. In our very community, children go to school or not, wondering if their parents will be there when they return. While we debate abstractions about borders that the ocean has already declared obsolete. Is it synchronicity that we face literal rising waters while metaphorical floods of violence threaten to drown our humanity? That we speak of climate refugees while watching real-time displacement? That we debate borders while the ocean recognizes none? The same myth-making, mythopoeic question applies here. Are we conscious co-creators of these realities, or unconscious participants? At what level are we engaging? As unstoried fact gatherers? As awakened feeling beings? As myth crafters of new possibilities? Let me tell you when my myth-making first awakened. My mother, Barbara Roth, who just became a member last Sunday. She owned a daycare center where all 11 of us, her children, spent our pre-K years and summers. Once a week, we had swimming lessons at Lake Worth Municipal Pool. Now it's something else. When I was maybe 7 or 8, I was doing a lap across that pool as part of a test under the watchful eyes of lifeguards. Halfway across, I breathed in a gulp of water and began to panic. I flailed and splashed until I became exhausted. My muscles burned. I was barely keeping my chin above water. I remember wondering when the lifeguard was going to arrive to pull me out. And then I realized they weren't coming. Nobody was watching me. And I was going under. And something happened that I couldn't explain. My body didn't want to drown. So my scrawny, exhausted limbs kept paddling and splashing until I reached the side of the pool and lay there both angry and embarrassed. I never told anyone, but that was the day I learned I had to save myself. We're all in that pool now, flailing, exhausted, wondering when help will arrive. But the revelation here isn't just save yourself. It's that we are the lifeguards now. We have each other. Now, let me speak directly to the climate grief I see in so many eyes. Your grief is not weakness. It's the beginning of mythopoeic consciousness. It's the awakened edge recognizing your part of the story. But grief can become a gateway. Through wherever you are in the mythopoeic scale, we can transform. From grieving what's lost, awakened, to seeing the poetry in the loss, symbolist, to hearing all our inner voices about it, inner caste keeper, to creating rituals for letting go, the myth crafter, to building movements of meaning, myth weaver, to architecting new ways of being with water, myth architect. Here's what Jung's synchronicity really means in our context. The outer rising of waters and our inner rising of consciousness aren't separate phenomena. They're the same movement, the universe expressing itself in different mediums. As Arctic ice melts, frozen hearts thaw. As coastlines retreat, old boundaries dissolve. As salt water intrudes, tears finally flow. As islands disappear, isolation ends. This isn't cosmic punishment or mystical bypassing. This is the deepest recognition. We are Earth. We and Earth are in therapeutic relationship. We're in couples counseling. And both parties need change. Jung would say this is exactly how synchronicity works. When we're internally aligned with a question, the universe provides the stage for an answer. Forrest Church asked, "What do we teach our children?" In the face of rising seas, I say we teach them this: you are made of water. Literally, scientifically, spiritually. When the ocean rises, it's not other, it's us. We are not saving the planet, we are saving ourselves. Because we are the planet, temporarily organized into the shape of people. Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker writes of collective salvation that none of us are saved alone. The rising seas make this visceral. Your seawall cannot save you if mine fails. Your high ground means nothing if your neighbors drown. This is UU theology made manifest. Salvation is not individual escape, but collective transformation. Our name, Universalist, takes on new meaning. Not universal salvation after death, but universal participation in Earth's life now. We don't all have to believe the same thing about the rising waters, but we all have to respond. As Reverend William Ellery Channing wrote, we must think for ourselves, and we must feel for others. Today, the others include the ocean, the atmosphere, the whole wounded web of being. So here's my invitation as we stood in those days of awe between birth and rebirth. I ask you to take the order of service insert, right, as your invitation this week into a deeper relationship with the earth. There it is, that one. Nope, that's not it either. We got a lot of inserts today. This one with Rebecca Parker and William Ellery Channing on the back. So take that home with you. And this week, I invite you into a deeper relationship with the earth. And here's the immediate invitation. The synchronicity made manifest. Today, we gather for our international coastal cleanup at University Woodlands Park. It can be today or any day in any public space where you see trash. But I invite you to see this not as picking up trash. Make this your ritual of transformation at whatever stage of the mythopoeic scale you find yourself. If you're unstoried, come see the direct impact of human choices on waterways. If you're awakened, feel what stirs in you as you touch what doesn't belong. If you're a symbolist, notice what each piece of litter represents about our relationship with Earth. If you're an inner caste keeper, listen to all your inner voices, the helper, the despairer, the one who hopes. If you're a myth crafter, expand this ritual. Say a blessing over each piece you collect. If you're a myth weaver, help us see how this connects to larger patterns. If you're a myth architect, envision the new systems that would make cleanup unnecessary. We need all of you. This is embodied emergence, thread 5 of the spiral. Our hands in service, our bodies bending toward Earth, our grief and love made practical. So as our Jewish siblings have just completed their season of teshuvah, return, I invite us to consider, what if return isn't about going backward to some pristine state? Our living tradition teaches that revelation is continuous, always unfolding. What if teshuvah is about spiraling forward into conscious co-creation? James Luther Adams taught us that we are priesthood of all believers, each called to transform the world. The synchronicity of sea level rise and consciousness rise might be Earth's way of calling us into that prophethood, saying, it's time. Time to mature. Time to recognize you've always been co-creators. Time to do it consciously. This is our universalist message for today. Not that some will be saved from rising waters, but that all must rise together in consciousness, in compassion, in commitment to the whole of which we are a part. As Adrienne Marie Brown reminds us, we must transform ourselves to transform the world. The Jewish wisdom of the High Holy Days, filtered through our UU commitment to continuous revelation, offers us this. Every moment is a chance to turn, to return, to transform. The seas don't wait for our holy days, neither should our response. I'm reminded of what my son keeps telling me. Have you started your retirement yet? And no, you're gonna all moan at this, but I have not. He's like, okay, then do it today. In the end, the deepest synchronicity isn't that seas rise as consciousness rises. It's that we're made of water, our bodies, our tears, our very cells. When the ocean rises, it's not other, it's our essence calling us home to wholeness. The Jewish mystics knew this. The mythopoeic scale demonstrates this. Even our grief knows this. We were never separate from what we are grieving. So as we stand here between creation and return, between solid ground and rising waters, between old stories and new possibilities, I offer this blessing. May your grief become a gateway. May your fear become a teacher. May your uncertainty become sacred. May you rise, not above the waters, but with them. May you remember, you are mostly water, temporarily organized into the shape of someone who can choose. Choose consciousness. Choose co-creation. Choose to spiral forward. The seas are rising, consciousness is rising, and we are rising too. Not to escape the water, but to remember we are water, learning to love itself in new forms. The seas are rising. Consciousness is rising. And today we rise from these seats to meet them. Amen? Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be so. And blessed be.